You're listening to the Focused and Fearless podcast. I'm your host, Heather Angel, and I've been helping people tune into what lights them up and increase their personal and professional performance for over a decade. Now I'm best known as a high-performance coach, helping entrepreneurs like you cut through the noise and create a business and life on your terms. If you're ready to step out of struggle and discover how simple it can be to create a fulfilling, joyful, and successful business without all the overwhelm and long hours, you're in the right place. Hey gorgeous, welcome to a brand new episode of the Focused and Fearless podcast. I hope this is finding you really well wherever you are. And this episode is actually a brand new style of episode. This is an interview, but with one of my clients, the beautiful Karen Sutton, who is a grief and loss coach. Oh my goodness, I can't wait for you to dive into this, because this whole conversation, it's honest, it's raw, it's completely transparent about what it has taken Karen in this year to pretty much start and grow a business during 2020. Now, Karen's story is, it's incredible how she took something that's happened to her, which was just incredibly tragic, incredibly sad, and turned it around in a way that has enabled her to impact so many other people and help and serve so many other people all around the world. And this isn't just one of those episodes where we're like, oh, let's tell all the shiny bits and make people feel like business is really simple. Okay, no, this is a really honest conversation about all the barriers that she's come up against. So the mindset shifts that she's had to make, the things she's learned and things that she's had to do in order to create this business during such a challenging year in many ways. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to dive in, because this is not one of those case study episodes where we just go, oh, hey, let's just tell them all the shiny facts and, some nonsense story about like, oh, they went from 0 to 6 figures in, 5 minutes. Oh, we're all done with that, right? Let's just talk about what it really takes to create a sustainable business that you absolutely love. And that is what this story is all about. So I'm going to let you dive into the episode. Please do connect with Karen, okay? I forgot to say this at the end of the interview. Please do connect with Karen. All her links are below in the show notes. You can find her on Instagram. So it's Karen Sutton, Grief and Loss Coach. She is the most beautiful soul, and I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. So without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome everyone. I am so excited to introduce you to the beautiful Karen Sutton. Welcome to the podcast, lovely.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, this is going to be such a lovely conversation. Karen is one of my clients, one of my premium clients through Focused and Fearless, and I invited her onto the podcast because her story is just beautiful. What Karen has achieved in such a short time during one of the weirdest times in human history is absolutely amazing. So I've already done an intro for you, Karen, so I would love for you to let listeners know who you are and how you help people.
So I'm Karen Sutton, and I have set up in the last year as a grief and loss coach, and I support people, namely widows, because that's my background and that's what I'm passionate about, navigate their way through their grief. I offer practical and emotional support through grief to help people create a meaningful life after loss, a life that they can love again.
And it's not something you really see. We're so, especially in Britain, we're so, you don't talk about these things, do you? And it's all very hush hush, and it's all that awkward thing, like, oh my gosh, what do we do when someone is dealing with grief? We don't really know how to handle it. So it's just beautiful what you've managed to set up. And I would love for you to, because you said helping widows is more sort of part from your background, so I'd love for you to share your story of how this actually came about.
Sure, yes. So back in September, it was the 11th of September 2016, my husband suddenly died. He went out on a bike ride on a Sunday morning, very normal, and he just didn't ever come home. He had a huge heart attack and died instantly. And obviously then, you know, I had to tell my children their dad had died. I had to tell my mother-in-law her son had died. And, you know, then there's everyone, isn't there? Friends, extended families. And we were all absolutely devastated. It just completely throws your world into absolute chaos. I have never known such despair and fear, sadness like it. And you just don't know what to do. And sorry, excuse me. Like you say, grief isn't something that anyone really discusses. And in true British style, I think it's that stiff upper lip, let's get on with it, we're okay, you know, nothing's going to knock us down. And actually, you're really not okay. But you want to be, and you want it all to just go away because it is all just so awful. But how do you talk to people about that? Do you know? And how do you navigate your way through this? You're left feeling so many unknown feelings and emotions, and having these thoughts that you don't understand, and you can't process them. You don't know what to do with them. And who do you talk to? I had counselling. I had two sort of lots of separate counselling, which were brilliant for me in terms of helping me speak to somebody that was neutral, you know, someone that wasn't going to be offended by what I said, or that wasn't going to overreact to what I was saying, or even just totally irritate me with a comment because they don't know what to say, and they don't know how to. And you get a lot of that when you're grieving, and that's not a criticism of people. I've done it. You don't know what to say, so you end up saying something clumsy or offensive. It's unintentional. So I had the counselling, and that was really good up to a point. But how do you move forward? What do you do to help you figure out who you are now, what you want from life, and how on earth are you going to make this horrendous situation better? Talking's brilliant, you know, and I'm a huge advocate of it. I really am. And everyone should do more of it for sure. But there comes a point where you need a nudge, some direction. You need to figure yourself out. And there's not a lot of that out there. I did end up getting myself a coach, a life coach, and that helped me hugely. I mean, I wanted it for my health and my fitness because I wanted to improve that. But that took me on a path of self-discovery, actually. And on that path of self-discovery, I decided that I wanted to help other widows, other people grieving any loss, rebuild their lives, rediscover who they are, and know that they really can make something quite wonderful from something so tragic. Because we lose hope in these dark times, and we have no idea how the future's going to turn out, and that's scary. And I want to provide that. And I thought, you know, if I've figured this out for me, surely I can help other people do the same. And that now has become my passion, my purpose, and I just love it. I love what I do.
And it's such a powerful story, and I'm so grateful for you sharing that, because it is a tough story to retell. And what I love about, you know, having worked with you this year is the way you show up and you help widows. Because, you know, you're right, there's counselling and there's a lot of things out there, and I've had my own experiences with counselling, not as positive as yours were, but I think there is a lot of people out there that, you know, okay, well, I've done the counselling, but like you said, how do I, you know, it's in those questions of like, okay, well, I've processed it, but now what do I do next? How do I create a beautiful life again after going through such pain? I think it's beautiful what you do, and watching you how you do it as well in your own unique way is just gorgeous, because if you guys are not following Karen on Instagram, you must, because her posts are just, there's no fluff with our lovely Karen. Like, she will get straight to the point and she will help you see how you can start taking those steps forward. So how did it go from becoming this like, right, do you know what, this is what I want to do, I want to help people? And this is so often, you know, especially us women, we come to this place of like, I just want to help people. Yeah. So how did it go from that desire, knowing that that was your purpose and your passion, to creating a business out of that?
Well, through, I guess, I think following your heart, essentially. You know, knowing what you want to do, that drives you, doesn't it? When you find something that you really do love and you're passionate about, that drives you to want to achieve it. And I think that's a huge step in it. But it's, you know, it started off quite sort of organically. I've got a friend that is a web designer, one of your other clients, Natalie, and she just did a basic website for me, because, you know, it's just talking to people, isn't it? People that are in business that have done it, and you like, well, how did you do it? What did you do? What do I need to do? What would be the first steps? And I had a few of those conversations. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll do a little website, and I'll set up a Facebook page and an Instagram page, and just sort of started posting, I suppose. I wrote a couple of blogs and put them up. And I asked friends, because initially I started out quite generically, I suppose, in grief. I hadn't niched down at all. I wanted to help the world. You know how it is. You're just like, right, I've got this. I'm going to help everyone. And I was a breakup and bereavement coach, but that covers a lot, doesn't it? And that's how I kind of started, really. So I just did that, and I started coaching a few friends, and that was going well. But it wasn't really business then. It was more sort of practice for me, something for them. And then slowly but surely, word of mouth. I kind of gained more clients, but wasn't really making a lot of money out of it, because I was too scared to charge people too much. I didn't believe in myself necessarily. You know, you kind of think, I can do this, but I can't do this. This is the internal part of, oh, how can I do that? I was still doing a health coaching course, because obviously there's no courses out there to become a grief coach. So I'd gone down the route of a health coaching course to help me help people in all areas of their lives, and with my own experiences, and with that's how I kind of became a coach. And then I guess it was a funny time, wasn't it? Because I think at that kind of point, lockdown hit, didn't it, earlier this year? And I think that was around the time I met you. I don't think we'd gone into lockdown yet, had we?
No, just before.
Yes, I joined a few networking groups, you know, local networking groups, and you go along to these talks, and thank God you came along to one of these talks. And we got talking off the back of that, and that was when things really started to take off. I'd say for me, that was really starting to head it in the right direction.
Yeah, it is incredible. And what I love is your pure honesty about this, because there's so many people that have sort of maybe started businesses or are thinking about starting. It's like, well, where do I even start? And you know, there's no bravado or ego on this podcast ever. And it's just like, you know, exactly what Karen said. Like, most of us were like, well, just said I did this thing and had a few clients and put together a little website. That is how so many of us started. We're just like, I really want to help people with this. I'll put it out there, see what happens. There's no grand plan or, you know, divine download of like, this is how my life is going to be.
Well, do you know what, it's hard, because historically I was a midwife, you know, before Simon, my husband, died. I worked in the NHS for, I don't know, 15, 16 years. I've never gone into business. I have no clue. I know nothing about technology, websites, running a business, I just nothing. So I really was going in blind, completely blind.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of respects that has helped me actually, because I didn't really have any preconceived ideas. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't trying to, I don't know, I wasn't fighting anything internally. I was an open book. And I feel that that's actually worked in my favour.
I totally agree, because when you're having to unpick preconceptions and beliefs about anything, you're like, oh man, I've got to undig all that first and then replace it with a new belief system. So you've gone from having that tragic time in your life, going through all the work yourself, turning this into a business. Like you said, we started working together through Focused and Fearless in, I don't know, February, March time, before then lockdown hit and the world just went a bit crazy. So I know where your business is now, but share with the listeners what's happened over the last year, because we do want to be 100% honest with everyone that's listening. It's not just like, oh yeah, and it was just magic and everything was easy and it just fairy dust. How's the last year been for you, for your business?
It's been really interesting. I don't think ever learned so much about anything in such a short period of time. And God, and there's still so much to learn, I'm only a year into this. But I mean, I started off when I met you and I kind of had my website, but I had no idea. I didn't even know how to really post properly. I was just kind of throwing stuff out there on social media. I didn't have an email list or anything. I didn't have a freebie, that people could sign up to help them that way. And I had a couple of hundred followers on Facebook and Instagram, which was great. But how do you go about growing that? And I had no real clue. And do you know what? It has been hard graft, and really sometimes you feel like you've just got a hobby. It's like, do you know what? I'm playing at this, but it's not ever going to pay me any money. But you have to keep believing in what you're doing is going to work. Do you know, it's almost like an energy you throw out into the universe. And that has been proven to me, because when my energy has been down and I've got into a bit of a negative spiral maybe, and thought, this doesn't go anywhere, it's not working, I'm not getting anything back. I didn't get anything back. But when I sort of picked myself up and remembered my why and what I was doing, and refocused and put that good positive energy out there, it just came back in abundance. And when things started flowing, and I would only really say, if I'm honest, it's been in the last maybe 3 or 4 months really that I think things have taken off. That I now have regular one-to-one clients. I probably do between sort of 7 and 10 one-to-ones a week now with clients. I'm forever getting new inquiries in. I've got an email list. I've developed a freebie. But all these things take so much effort and time. And you can sometimes wonder, why am I doing this?
Oh my God. I just we don't share the video of this, but I'm literally just beaming. I'm like almost like in tears. So I'm like, oh my God, I know how hard this has been, but 100% the last few months you've just gone boop, there you are. And I know we've had many a discussion about, because I want to pick up on something you said about sort of digging yourself out there when you get in that negative spiral of like, oh my gosh, because we've all been there. We've all had those moments of like, oh man, why am I doing this? But one of the key things I think, which I saw you do, is you found your voice. You found who you were in this space. And I think when that happens, that's when the magic happens, because all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go with this. And it's not the constant overthinking, like, oh, should I post this? How should I word it? How's this going to be taken? It's like, nope, this is me.
It's really funny you say that, because I find the posts that I'm a little bit apprehensive maybe about posting, because I think, is this going to touch some nerves? Am I going to annoy people with what I'm saying? They get the best feedback. You know, when I'm throwing something a little bit controversial out there, maybe, that's when people really start to respond, because that's the things people aren't talking about and are too scared to bring up and say. It's funny because, but doing it, you grow in your confidence, don't you? You think, okay, it's all right actually. But also I used to compare myself to others a lot. You know, when in fact, I don't think there's anyone in England that does what I do. There's a couple of other widows that now coach, but maybe on a nutritional side of things, or I don't know, that they do certain things, but they don't do what I do, which is specifically for widows going through their grief. There's quite a few in America. So I've found these people in America, and I've been following them, and you know, when you're comparing yourself and you're like, oh, I can't do that, I'm not good enough, they've got this and they've got that. Do you know what, like we do in life, don't we? We're just forever putting ourselves down and comparing ourselves to others. And you just have to have that belief that, you know, what's that saying you say, Heather? You've said it to me a couple of times now about not not comparing the start of
don't compare your start to somebody else's middle.
Yes,
somebody else's end. So there's no point comparing yourself, like you just started, like, but they've been doing it 10 years, why am I not there? Because they've been doing it 10 years.
Exactly. And that's what I was doing, and I still have to rein myself in a little bit sometimes, but I do. And it's just knowing that I want to help people, and that is the reason that I do this, to give other people hope. And I know that's what I do, because I get good feedback from clients and followers and you know, anyone really that's had anything to do with me in a conversational way. And that makes me feel so good, and that makes me want to do it more, you know. And finding my voice and putting myself out there, and I have to overcome challenges. I have to push myself, you know. The first time you do a live or something on social media and videos and learning a new language, you know, like you and I have worked quite a lot on, haven't we, on how to speak to people, because it's hard selling something. Selling something's really difficult. That doesn't come naturally. It doesn't to me anyway. And it's learning all these new skills and taking yourself out of your comfort zone. You just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing through these things, but you've got to be true to your why. Do you know what I mean? And I think I've always, from the beginning of this journey of coaching, always wanted it to come from an authentic place. That has been so important to me. And I think that helps.
100%. And I think more and more so, especially in the online space, people are craving that. They're done with the bro marketers. They're done with these, I'm putting coaches in inverted commas, that are not coaches. They're just really good marketers who want to sell you their stuff, you know, actually authentic people that are really out there to help and serve. I think the world's thirsty for people like that. We need more and more people like you doing exactly what you're doing. And I just want to go back to that one point, because I did promise listeners I would, because this is something that I think, especially as we go through the roller coaster of the pandemic and everything else that's going on in the world, when you do have those moments of, oh, you know, you might be riding high, have a good launch or something like that, and then you're like, oh my God, it's hard. What am I doing? What is it that helps you get out of that and go back into that? Because you said, you know, you get yourself back out and go back into that positive space, and you have the evidence now that when you're in that positive, abundant mindset, abundance flows to you. But we're only human. So what do you do to get yourself out of that sort of
I think first and foremost, you have to take a step back. If you're feeling overwhelmed and your energy levels, you're feeling a bit negative, you have to take, for me, and I think probably most people, you have to take a step back and fill yourself back up, because you're tired. We get tired, we get run down, we get irritated and annoyed, and just you lose it, don't you? You lose your way a little bit, and not just in business, in life in general. I think it can happen to everyone at any point doing whatever they're doing. So I think just take a breather, step back, Do what you've got to do to fill yourself back up. Do something that brings you some comfort, some joy. Eat well, get out in nature, move your body, get some fresh air. If you need to completely switch off, or maybe listen to an uplifting podcast or a TED talk, or read an inspiring book. It's something that's going to sort of fill you back up again. And allow yourself that time. We're all busy. There's always something to do. You're never going to get to the end of that to-do list, are you? It just keeps going back up. And most things it can wait. Some things can't, you have to do them, but figure out what you have to do and figure out what can wait so that you can have some you time. And I think it's really important, especially with what I do, that I look after me, because my clients deserve the best of me. If I turn up with a flat energy and feeling a bit rubbish, that's not fair on them. So I think ultimately that's take a step back, but also don't give up. If you're feeling like it's not worth it, or you're not getting much back, just keep going. If this is really important to you and you really want it to work, believe in it, believe in yourself, and have patience. I think we live in a world where we all want everything yesterday. We want instant results. We go on a diet, we want to lose 3 stone in the first 3 days, We decide to go to the gym and get fit. We want to be able to run a marathon the next month. And we start up a business. It's like, I'm going to be a millionaire in 6 months, Rodney. It's like, it doesn't work like that. It's just not how life figures itself out. So be patient. Put the work in. Yeah, probably in the first year, you're going to be at a loss. You are going to be at a loss. And I think you just have to accept that. You're going to be putting a lot in and not getting a lot out. But hang in there, look after you, fill yourself up, remember why you're doing it, and look back. I think this is, and I love that, the quote, the past is a place of reference, not a place of residence.
Yes.
And I love that. For me, it's just so powerful, because don't stay there. Don't stay where you were. Know that you want more, but look back and look how far you've come. Look at everything you've achieved. You might think you're not getting anywhere, but actually, if you look back to where you started and where you are now, I've had times in this where I've thought, this isn't working. I'm not getting anything done here. But then look at it, look at how many more followers you've got. Look at how much more interaction you get with people. Look at how many more clients, what feedback you're getting. What, like you've got the website, the freebie, the landing page, all this stuff that you're developing over time. You go, oh, do you know what? Actually, I am achieving things, and the good will come. I just have to be patient, and I have to keep going.
And I think the key thing that I really take away from that, because it's so powerful what you said, is that don't give up, but learn to rest.
Yeah.
And I think that is especially true for coaches, consultants, people that are giving their all. You have to learn to rest, because otherwise you will give up, because you'll create a business that turns into a monster and you won't love it anymore. And then you're like, no, it wasn't for me. And it's like, oh, it was for you. You just burnt yourself out.
Yeah. Because it's hard to switch off, when something's yours and there's no one else to pass the buck to, that's a lot. That feels like a lot of responsibility, and especially I'm on my own with 2 kids. I don't have a partner. Well, I do have a partner, but he doesn't live with me. I am essentially on my own with 2 kids, and that's a lot on its own. And then to start building a business, and I never wanted it to come at the cost of my children. Do you see what I mean? I've at the forefront of my being is being a mum, and being there for my girls, and supporting them and loving them and cherishing them. Like with everything I've been through, I feel incredibly lucky to be here with both my children. I'm here to watch them grow, and they're here for me to watch grow. And that is a blessing. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they drive me nuts. I'm not perfect. I don't live in a blissful, happy household where it's all hearts and flowers. But that is what I want to do. So the building the business on the side was something I wanted to do for me, but not at the cost of my family. But it's hard, because especially when you've put so much work into something, you want to keep going at it. You want to, you get all these ideas and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'll just do this and I'll just do that.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're spending a lot of time on it. And you have to remind yourself, I need to pull back from this. It's important that I set some boundaries. And that's another thing I wasn't necessarily very good at, and still not all the time. But when you become aware of what you're doing, it's important that you find that balance between your business, your family, and all the other things that you want to fit in.
And I'm curious to know whether because I know I've shared with the Focused and Fearless members that once lockdown happened, I actually worked less, but the business grew, and I wasn't working an awful lot beforehand. I was all like, no, it's all I'm in the same position, single mum, 2 kids. I'm like, will always be the priority. So did you find lockdown shifted your perspective on how you thought business was going to look, or has it had any impact on how you've grown it or what you've decided you want to do?
I think lockdown for me actually worked for me, because before lockdown I was thinking small. I was like, right, I can look after people in my area. I live in Cheltenham. I was like, right, I could look after people in Cheltenham and Gloucester and maybe a little bit the Cotswolds, Worcester. I was like, because I have a room here that I coach in, and I always felt that people had to come to me. It had to be face to face. Then lockdown hit, and it's like, okay, so I'm going to have to do these calls now over video call, and actually it worked really well. And and then you're like, right, well, okay, so if I can do this over video call, then I can reach anyone anywhere in the world. And I do. I've got clients all over England, Scotland, and I've got a lady in India, I've got a lady in America. I get information. Oh, it's not information. Emails from people, honestly, Australia, New Zealand. It has been amazing. I mean, the power of social media and the internet is incredible, absolutely incredible. And it's opened my eyes really to the potential of what I can do and how far I can take it. I was thinking small before, and that had a lot to do with the fact that I felt it had to be face to face and local. Also my beliefs, that I don't know, I can't do it that big, and that will never happen to me. And all these stories we tell ourselves and we hold ourselves back, don't we? And I think, especially working with you, that is amazing, because that allows me to work with someone that can help me with my ideas and how to put them into place, but also that belief from someone. Did you know? And also the group that we have in Focused and Fearless, everybody wants to be successful and everybody wants to help others with whatever it is they're doing. And we're all, I think, very authentic, genuine people. And that support structure, especially when you're on your own in business, that I think is almost quite priceless, because it just makes you feel less isolated, less alone, and more capable, because you see other people doing things and you're like, yeah, do you know, if they can do it, I can do it. You see other people having slumps and moments where they're like, oh my God, I can't stop crying and this is just awful and nothing's working and I'm so tired, and it's you're like, okay, this is normal.
I'm not on my own with this. It is, I mean, the amount of times in Focused and Fearless I've had messages and everyone's like, oh, this is going wrong, and I'm like, guys, the moon's doing something weird. I like, the energy's weird, we're all having a bit of a wobble. Something's going on.
We're united in our wobbles.
We're united in blaming the moon for the craziness, and we're just like, okay, we'll move on now.
Funny.
But it's amazing. I think that's a really important point as well, about not feeling like you have to do it on your own, because you said right at the beginning, you didn't, you came from a career in the NHS, you didn't know about business, why would you? And then the online space, holy moly, once you start digging in that, you're like, oh my God, like, where do you even start? So how have you found actually taking your business online? Because that's almost like a whole other beast of creating a business.
It's a whole other beast. And you have an idea and you want to do it and you want it done quickly. but it doesn't happen that quickly. It's the process of creating online products, a business that works online is huge, and it includes things that I would never have even known existed. Do you know what I mean? Like, just even the way you word things, the messaging, the pictures you use, the data that you have to analyze, pixels and event codes on. Honestly, and I'm still learning about all this stuff, and I'm someone that I kind of have to go through it once and then almost go back and learn about it again for it to sink in, because I'm so new to it. It's another language. I remember when I started out and certainly building a website, the language that is used, the words, the terminology, I'm sat there going, I have no idea what you've just said to me. It means nothing. And then somebody's trying to explain something quite technical to you, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. And there's still a lot I don't get. I wing it, and I've had to invest in people to help me with that, because you have to know what you're good at and what you're not good at, I think. And I'm good at the coaching. I'm good at speaking to people and being with other widows and supporting them. And that's where my passion lies. My passion does not lie in building landing pages and websites and tracking my data and event codes on paper. Just like, you lose me on all of that. I try and keep up with it, and I'm learning about it all the time. But it really is, I feel like I've stepped into another world that I don't always understand, but I'm clear in that I think I will always be learning. Always, always, always. I'm not going to know everything. I can't know everything right now. And I almost have to just chunk things down and think, right, what do I need to know? Let me learn about that, and then let's take it to the next level, which can be frustrating because you want to know everything. You have an idea, you're like, oh, look, let's just go, let's just do it, let's put it into place. And it doesn't work like that. And that could be frustrating. So, but I think now, having been in this space for about a year, I can look back and think, do you know what? Just give it time. It all comes together eventually, but it takes time to understand that and be comfortable with it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think to share with the listeners as well, you started at the beginning of the year before lockdown, everything, like, right, I see clients in my office, and it's going to be local and all that. And now I'd love you to share where you're at, how you're working with people, the clients, and the programs you're developing.
So I love it. So now I do face-to-face one-to-ones with clients, individual sessions. I've just started up a group coaching program, which is absolutely amazing. I love it. I have 7 women on the course, and we meet once a week, and we discuss anything and everything, and we're working through how they all feel. They're all in different places in their journey, but having somewhere to connect for them, to reach out to other people and find that support. And I know there's other support groups out there, that there's lots, but I think finding a support group, and this is what I wanted to do, was create this support group that was positive. And it's like, yes, you're going to have really bad days and you are going to feel awful, and by all means, let's share that and let's talk about it, but let's find a way of making that a little bit better for you, or even just providing hope that it will get better, in a few days, weeks, months, wherever you are in your journey. So that is just amazing. I'm looking into setting up a membership so people can, this is my next venture, join, and pay a monthly membership fee and have access to a Facebook group, to group coaching calls, and if they wanted to, they could tag on a one-to-one with me once a month. I have got a freebie that I've developed on my website, where that sends an email to you once a day for 5 days, and within that there are actionable steps that you can put into place here and now to help you feel a little bit better. in your grief journey, because it's incredibly overwhelming and we don't always know where to even start. So I've created that just to give a little bit of direction, a little bit of a starting point, I suppose, to step, the right way forwards towards a brighter future.
Yeah, and for those listening who maybe going through grief at the moment, it's that all the links for this will be in the show notes, so you can absolutely grab the freebie and connect with Karen and get the help and support that you need. But what I love, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for your business, because when we first started working together, I was like, oh my God, this girl's going places. Like, this is going to be big. How have you transitioned? How have you found the transition from working with people one-to-one? Because I know a lot of people listening would have been like, well, hang on, I just work with people one-to-one. How have you found the transition into a group program?
Scary. Again, it's scary, and as you know, Heather, I've been thinking about this group program for quite a while, and I have been overthinking, I've been procrastinating. I'm like, right, I need it. I almost wanted to have a script for each session for the 6 weeks, and I was scared. That was pushing me out of my comfort zone, and I wasn't sure of how it would work or whether people would get anything from it. But do you know what? You taught me to just go with it. Just go with it. Allow it to flow. If you plan something too much, I think then there's a danger of it being too structured, and then that can feel a little disingenuous. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. That the first one I did, I was really nervous. I was really nervous, and I'd never done anything like that before. It was again a completely alien concept to me. I was in charge, and all these people were looking at me for direction and hope and support, and it's like, but I tried not to overthink it. It's like, okay, do you know what? These people are in a very dark place, and I've been in that dark place, and I just wanted to provide them with a little bit of light in that dark place that would hopefully grow. And by not overthinking it too much and not expecting too much from myself, it's that whole reality versus expectation thing, isn't it? When we have an idea, we want it to be perfect. Our expectations are just through the roof. And sometimes it's like, just go with your heart, trust your instincts, and do what feels right. And I'm now halfway through my coaching course with the group, and I'm almost asking them for direction. So I'm glad I didn't put so much work into structuring it, because actually their needs are different to what I thought they were going to want. And again, because you're overthinking something and you're trying to make something perfect, you're overcomplicating it. And I think that was, you've given me so much great advice, but that in itself was just brilliant, because I just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to just do it. Sometimes you've got to just do it, haven't you? Absolutely. Just get with it. You've got the idea. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You haven't failed. It's a learning, and it maybe wasn't meant to be that way. Let's find another way of doing it. But sometimes you've just got to go with it.
Absolutely. And until you try these things, and this is, when we're in online space, we call it a beta launch or a beta program, to just test these things out, because we get so caught up in our own heads. And actually sometimes the ego can play a bit too much of a part. We're like, I know what my audience need, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to create this thing. And then no one buys it, because you're like, oh, they didn't want it. That wasn't what they needed. So it's so much better to just be open and upfront and go, do you know what? I'm going to create this. This is how I'm going to help you. But, listen to your people, like, give them what they need. And it's a great thing to do, because you'll learn so much. And these 7 people that you've got that you're working with, you are their light, and that light wouldn't have been there had you not opened this up as an opportunity, because not everyone can afford to work. It's why I have a membership. Not everyone can afford to work with us on a one-to-one basis. So if we truly want to serve, and as you do, it's about like, well, how can I do that? How can I reach more people to remove the barriers that they have in place to get the help, which is unfortunately quite often, they can't afford the private work. So it's like, well, how else can you help people? And that's amazing. It's so beautiful seeing how much the business has grown, and now already, like, you're like, right, the membership. I'm like, yes.
I do. I have so many ideas, now that once you go down this path and you break free from your initial constricted ideas, I guess, of what, when I started this, I was like, okay, I'm just going to see a couple of clients a week. It'll be really nice. I had no idea what that entailed when, starting a business. God damn, I was so naive. It was hilarious. I honestly had visions of me throwing out a couple of posts a week and then just having clients come to the house, and that was how it was going to work. But now I'm like, right, okay, I want to develop online courses, I want memberships, I want group programs, I want individual one-to-ones. It's like you go down and I want to write a book. It takes off, and you're starting to think, my God, I can do this. I can. I don't know how. And you don't need to know how, but have the idea and figure it out on the way, And I think that's something I've learned. You tell yourself, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. It doesn't matter. Somebody will know, and somebody will show you, and they will help you. And there's people out there that, I didn't know those people like you out there because I wasn't in business. So I kind of thought I'd have to do it all alone. But when you go down a path, I think the universe just opens up opportunities and doors, and you meet people that you would never normally have met, and you've got to put yourself out there and say yes to things. Don't hold yourself back.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what you just said, having that idea and going, right, well, that's what I want. One of the biggest questions I ask people is like, what do you want? And they go, oh, I don't know. Once you know what you want, at least, even if it's for 6 months, you're like, okay, I know what I want to aim for. Then, like you said, the universe does open up opportunities because you just take that next step. You don't have to know exactly all the steps to get there. You just take that first one, and then you're like, oh, and then like you said, you meet someone or a client books, and you're like, oh, and then they know someone else, and then all of a sudden you've got a referral, and you're like, oh, so this is how it works.
Yeah, it is. It's clever.
Who knew?
I didn't.
It's so beautiful. And the one thing I just want to sort of really make sure everyone's picked out is that Karen, you've got kids, you've been through so much, and yet still you've managed to take these steps forward. Like you've managed to help so many people, and you're going to be helping so many more people, I know, in the future. It is possible. And I'm going to say this in the nicest, for normal people. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, not these like fancy, beautiful, Instagram worthy people who are flouncing around and like their posh cars and things like, oh, well, they can do it. Yeah, so can everyone else. It is possible for normal people, British people, not just people over in America. You're one of the first people to do this in the UK.
Yeah, and I think it's knowing that and holding on to that belief all the time. And social media is like the devil in some respects, isn't it? And the angel in others. And it can work to your advantage and be incredible. It's a very powerful tool, but it can also hold you back because you can be looking at it and finding other people that do what you do. And like you say, everyone looks perfect. Everyone's beautifully manicured and skinny and fit and healthy and strong, and they're rich and famous, and they got followers, and it's just like, oh yeah, this is great. But that's just, and you can do that, and you can follow them and think, I can't do that. I don't look like her. I'm not as rich as him. I don't have that many followers. But you don't need to, and it's not even about the amount of followers you have, the amount of money you have, or how good you look. I mean, look at my Instagram page. God, when I've just done a run and then I do a video, I am not looking very good, but I don't care.
That's why we love you. We love you because you're like, hey, this is the reality. Like in normal life, I think the whole world is just like, do you know what, the shiny?
Yeah.
Like, trying to look up, but no one believes it anymore.
No. And do you know what? I can't be bothered either. A couple of people have said to me, oh, when you do your posts, you maybe, wear extra makeup, do your hair, have your clothes on. And I'm like,
have your clothes on. Well, that's an interesting one. Instagram works very well for women that don't have any clothes.
Have food clothes on. Yeah, don't do them naked. Freudian slip. That's brilliant. From the beginning, I thought, do you know what? No, I am not portraying an image of perfection. I am not going to let everyone think that I have got all my shit together, excuse my French, because I haven't.
Mm.
And you will see out there, I have bad days. I have bad days when I am sad. I am low. I've had enough. I'm tired. The kids, God, sometimes I want to kill them. But especially through lockdown, that really pushed me to my limits. And I think people need to see that. It's as much as I've built a great life, and I have, and I'm very happy, I'm very fulfilled, and I'm very aligned. In fact, far more so than I ever have been, because I've done the work on me. But I don't have a perfect life. It's not fun and laughter and great times all the time. It's not. It's hard, but that's life, right?
Absolutely. And I adore that about you, and that's what I love about the community that we have, and then the people that work with us inside Focus and Fearless. They're all like, nope, this is me, and you get what you see. And I'm like, yes, amen. We need more people to actually just be honest and truthful.
Keep it real. Yeah,
keep it real. Absolutely. So we could talk for ages. This is honestly, we cannot wait for COVID to just do one, so I can actually meet you and give you a hug, because it's just like hug and wine is needed. So before we round this up, is there anything that you would like to share, or any sort of final messages that you feel would sort of make this episode complete, that you want to make sure that people have really got from your story and your journey so far, because it's only just beginning?
It is. Do you know what? And that excites me. Because I just, when I look back over the last year, I think, God, what if I've done that in a year? What can I do in the next sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 years? But do you know, for anyone out there that's starting, I think, be patient, niche down. I mean, you gave me the confidence that I didn't have before to really, target my messaging towards widows. I didn't have the confidence or the belief that was the right thing to do. And it was absolutely the right thing to do. Find someone that can help you, that can guide you. I mean, obviously, I recommend you, Heather, to anyone and everyone starting out. I think everyone needs a Heather. But, just find someone that can help you build what you want to build. You don't have to do it all alone, Discover what you want to do. Discover who can help you do that, and just take steps towards those things each day. You have taught me, focus on one thing at a time. It's when you start off with something like this, you want to conquer the world, like we've said. You want to have the website, have all the freebies in place, have all the social media followings, be doing the coaching, and you want to be amazing at all of it. Just choose one thing. And I do believe that creates momentum, and that takes you down paths and they naturally build and they naturally grow. Don't give up. If you really want this, believe in yourself. You really can do anything. If somebody had said to me 4 years ago, it had only been a couple of months after Simon died, that, I would be happy, I would be fulfilled, I would be thriving, I'd be fit, I'd be healthy, I'd have my own business, I'd be supporting other widows, I'd have laughed in their faces. It had just been so way off the mark that I would never have believed any of that was achievable. And I have, and I've created something truly incredible in all areas of my life, but specifically in business and what I want. And make sure it's right for you. But before I came down this path, I kind of thought about being a party planner, and then I thought about going into property. But in my heart of hearts, I knew those things weren't right for me. Know in your heart of hearts that what you're doing is aligned with who you are and what you want out of life. And I think that is a huge part of the battle. And then find people to support you in achieving what you want to achieve, because there's so much out there in terms of support. But find someone that, again, you connect with, that you resonate with, and that will support you.
Oh, beautiful. Could not have ended that in any better way. Karen, it has been a pleasure as always. I really hope everyone that you have gained, there's so much gold in that episode, to be honest. You might want to listen back, because there is hope, there's possibility everywhere, and no matter what's going on in the world, if you stay aligned, like Karen said, you can find a beautiful business opportunity, and anything is possible. Anything is possible. Karen, thank you so much, my darling. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather. Loved it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Focused and Fearless podcast. If you'd like to continue the conversation or have a question that you would like answered in an upcoming episode, head over to Instagram and connect with me at Heather Angel Coaching. If you enjoy this podcast, please share your thoughts in a review on iTunes. I truly value your feedback, and I take the time to read every single review. Have a beautiful week, and I'll see you in the next episode.